as I mentioned, I care a lot more about wealth protection than I do about wealth appreciation, because to me, the wealth appreciation, the bulk of it should ideally come from that, that high ticket, high margin business that you're dumping money back into and at a high return and getting that compound interest on it. Okay. But wealth appreciation, and this is one of the things that I'm considering, is I'm moving towards more of the kitchen sink plan. Okay. And that comes from the expression like throw everything and the kitchen sink at the problem. And what that means is basically throw everything at it. Okay. And what I'm talking about is like owning, 10 currencies, bank accounts across the world, property, gold and silver, crypto. And the answer just being yes to all that, right? With no idea where, which one's going to lead and which one's going to lag, but with the idea of like trying to preserve the amount of wealth that you have. Reason being, I get paid in US dollars and I've got a good amount of money held in US dollars. Not particularly comfortable with that idea when I see the most chaos that I've seen in America in my 38 years on this planet. Okay. 5-10 years from now, I might be charging clients in a different currency, possibly before that. I don't know. So that's one area of it. And the other area is, the actual wealth that I have. So I already own, I've got a lot of bank accounts around the world. I'm trying to fill up this debit card wallet that I have, which is basically kind of looks like a big purse, so I don't take it anywhere. But I'm trying to fill that up with as many bank accounts as I have. This year I'll probably go ahead and get a Philippine bank account and get some pesos in there because I'm going to plan on spending time there as well. It certainly helps for my lifestyle too when I spend time in different countries and can own and use the local currency. But don't think that, it's only like commodities or instruments that appreciate. I've been owning Thai baht since 2012, or sorry, I think 2014 rather. And that's appreciated something like 17% in these last, 6 years since I first went to, when I first went to Thailand. Okay, now I can't take any credit for that. I was just dumping money into there because basically as a hedge and because I could use it. But don't forget currency appreciates as well. Okay, everything either is appreciating or depreciating. The difference is you can actually use the currency. Okay, that's the great thing. You can use the currency. I can't use gold. You know what kept me going during the confinement situation? It was a local bank debit card in the local currency. And I just lived off food delivery. Gold bars would have been useless to me because there wasn't even anybody open to buy the gold. Okay, absolutely useless. So would certificates of gold. Okay, now that's not to say that if you can't buy physical gold and silver if you want to as part of the kitchen sink hedge. Okay, if part of this big hedge, or a gold ETF or a silver ETF. Okay. And you guys know I don't like crypto, but I'm saying that could be a hedge as well. Although I'm not a big fan of just dumping it all into Bitcoin. I would say again, you treat it like the currencies. You buy a basket of coins per se. Now, that's not a definitive plan, but I'm saying if you are worried about your wealth protection, I'm starting to move more into just all of that, okay? And perhaps property. Although I don't know if you'd want to be buying property right now in America because I feel like you might want to wait for that market to fall apart over the next couple of years. I would feel like there's more to go on the downside, seeing as we could be in a depression there. Also not a huge fan of guys getting a mortgage, you know. But I do know Andrew from Nomad Capitalist, and he's got properties all over the world, you know, in places where, like, you know, 150 grand can get you an excellent condo in the downtown city center. And he spends time on all those properties, and he has his clothes there and his phone charger and all that good stuff. And I think that is both an excellent hedge against volatility in the banking system and currencies, as well as a pretty awesome lifestyle. And it's something I'm considering for the near future. I just have to stabilize in terms of which countries I do want to live in for the long term. And I'm still kind of working through that plan. So to make a long point kind of shorter, if you are worried about the US dollar and having the bulk of your wealth in the US dollar, consider putting a kitchen sink hedge together. And you don't have to start, you know, with property, all that stuff. You can just start with, like, okay, you know, getting some euro, getting some different country currencies. And ideally they're going to be currencies of, like, countries that you would visit anyways. Because if you're not traveling, man, you should be traveling. Or not traveling, living in different countries at least, because it's a blast. Okay, traveling itself sucks. So that's something to seriously consider. Also, guys, if you're an American, I want you to have accounts with, at minimum, the big four banks. Okay, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citibank. Okay, even though they all have terrible balance sheets and trillions of dollars of toxic derivatives. I'm talking about if you're an American. If you're not an American, I wouldn't even fuck with any American bank. Okay. The reason being is, if one of them goes down in this depression, it's probably going to get bailed out. Whereas the smaller banks with balance sheets that are, you know, maybe not as bad, probably won't get bailed out. Okay. But I also wouldn't want you to have all your money in, say, Wells Fargo, in case it doesn't get bailed out. And you're basically sitting there hoping that, you know, the FDIC is going to honor your depositor's insurance and all the other people's depositors' insurance, and you know, you're going to be able to get your money. But even if they do and you're able to get your money, it might take you, I don't know, 6 months or a year to get that money back. And I wouldn't want you to be in that position with all of your savings, okay? Because banks can and do fail. But I would want you to be in the big four, too big to fail banks, ideally, with your money spread out within those banks. And, you know, you can create, you know, your kitchen sink hedges across those bank accounts. Because, guys, don't forget, you got to hedge your bank accounts too. You don't want all your eggs in one basket, okay? And if you are going to travel, opening second bank accounts in foreign countries, I think is a great idea, especially if you're going to live there anyways. And you can get, you know, the local currency, which is exotic and fun. It's like, you know, if you go to Thailand and you get a language visa there, at least when I was there, you can get an account with Bangkok Bank and own Thai baht and be able to use that every time you go into Thailand and have that, you know, put some money in there every month or every quarter and be able to get a hedge, not just with the currency that you might not be able to buy in your home bank, but with a foreign bank account. Okay. So we're just talking about increasing the amount of security that you have. Okay. But I want you to get those big four banks, and then if you want to get even safer, you can get accounts with BMO Harris and TD Bank. Okay, these are the American subsidiaries of those. Those are the two of the biggest Canadian banks. So in Canada, we really only have four banks, and they're each like 150 years old. And I would say it's extremely unlikely that any of those would go under. The balance sheets are better than the American banks, and it's not like America where you have hundreds of banks. It's like there's only four, and if worst case scenario, they're almost a certainty that they would get bailed out by the Canadian government. And so you could get into those American subsidiaries as well. I actually think they're safer than those big four American banks, but they don't have as good credit card products, okay? Which brings me to my next point would be like, as Biggie Smalls said, that motherfucking credit, get it, okay? I would get all the credit you possibly can from each one of those American banks that you own, okay? Because America has the best credit card products in the world. I mean, you can get free flights all over the world with an Air Miles card or whatever you guys call Air Miles. I think Air Miles is Canadian. But I got my first flight to Thailand and my flight back from, using my Canadian credit card to pay my rent and other stuff. But, I would be using that credit card to try and to ideally buy everything, because number one, if there's a fraud on the account, you don't have to pay for it, the bank does, and the bank will probably notify you before you realize. And number two, you get those sweet points, okay? But also, let's say you have a good income, you might be able to get 20, 30 grand, 50, 70 grand per bank that you're at, okay? That adds up to 100, 50, 100, 200, 300, depending on your income and your net worth, of credit that's available to you for a worst case scenario. Okay, now, I am not telling you to go into debt. I'm the exact opposite. You should never have, ideally, any debt. The only good debt is corporate debt that you're not on the hook for, okay? Playing with other people's money. Personal debt, not the case, okay? You're on the hook for all of that. So I don't want you to have any debt, and I want you to pay that credit card bill off, 100% every month. However, okay, if we're talking about financial security and we're starting to hedge a little bit and get these different bank accounts, it doesn't hurt to have access to $50, $100, $150, $200,000 in credit. This is what I tell all my clients. A couple of them are coming out to be expats this year, and I'm making sure they get all the credit before they leave, just in case. Okay. Also, psychologically, makes you feel a lot better, when you have all that credit.